If you have these 3 sleeping problems, then it's not because you're lazy or you're broken or you have no willpower. It is because you have an interest-based brain and you might be ADHD or on the spectrum. And these signs are hidden signs from your sleep pattern and sleep problems that might tell you whether you have ADHD or not. Approximately 5% of the US population have ADHD, and this is just what's been diagnosed. So that number is probably twice as big if you count in kids who are not diagnosed, and specifically adults who are not diagnosed, minorities who are not being diagnosed. And that's like 9 million people just in America. And they're also struggling with sleep problems. That means you are not alone with certain of these sleep problems that I'm going to talk about now. Number 1, sleep resistance. And in adults, it's also called revenge bedtime procrastination. Now, this is like a funny meme that's going around now, but this is real, and I'll explain to you. Sleep resistance means you just simply don't like going to bed to sleep. You like going to bed to do other things, like read a book or watch Netflix or, I don't know, scroll infinitely on your phone, but you don't want to be in bed to actually sleep. As a kid, maybe you used to scream and cry and throw a fit before bedtime. I know I did. Just the other day, my dad was visiting us here and he told me, yeah, you used to hate going to sleep. You used to scream as if the world is ending before you had to go to bed. As a teenager, I remember laying awake in bed for at least 30 minutes, like most nights, and sometimes even 45 minutes, maybe even an hour during summer when it's hot. And I'd just lie in bed and I'd have my little fantasy world of all the fun things I could do with my friends, or I would like sit there and like imagine, I don't know, Bollywood movie songs about me and some like guy that I had a crush on. Basically, I just didn't want to actually fall asleep. Later on in my life as a working adult, it was 2 a.m. bedtime, like standard. On a weeknight, 2 a.m. was like when I went to sleep, and that was normal. And it was completely normal for me to wake up at 8 in the morning and then go to bed. I worked in a startup, so like arrival time was a bit flexible, thank God. But yeah, 2 a.m. bedtime was normal. But for me it was. But is that normal for most people? And as a mom now, I'm a mom of 2 kids, one of whom is ADHD and autistic. The other one is highly sensitive. I myself am ADHD and autistic. And by the way, my name is Ritu. I'm telling you all about my life and my sleep, so you should know who I am. My name is Ritu. I run this channel, and it's about being a great parent, a great partner, a great person, despite being neurodivergent. If that is important to you, please subscribe. So back to the list. As a mom now, my thing is revenge bedtime procrastination. What is that? There's this really funny Instagrammer, Rama Lau, I think that's how you pronounce his name, and he does such a good job of explaining what that is. So I'll just insert a little clip of his viral video here and you'll get the idea.
Have no time for yourself during the day? Try revenge bedtime procrastination. Now I get to delay sleep to regain the freedom that I lost during the day because of responsibilities and shit.
And you can see the full video on the link I'll put in the description below. But let's unpack this a little bit. Why is this happening? Well, for me as a small kid, the moment just before I actually dozed off into sleep, I would get this flash of a picture in my eyes, like behind my eyelid, where I would see a scary face or a monster or something like that. And this continued into my 20s. So like I'd be going to sleep, I'd have my fantasy, happy thoughts and so on. But then right as my brainwave slowed down, and now as a meditation teacher, I know a lot more about brainwaves, but at the time I didn't. So when your brain goes into like a delta kind of wave, oh my God, I'm getting technical, sorry. In that moment, I would get this flash in front of my eyes of a scary face, and it would instantly jolt me awake, and then I'd be like in this negative spiral. As a kid, it used to scare the crap out of me, as you can imagine, and same thing, when something similar happens to my kids, of course they're really scared and they can't sleep for the next hour. But this continued into my 20s, so finally at age 28, I figured out that I could just talk to the face, and I could be like, ugh, nobody wants you here, please please F off. And it did. Like, it just stopped appearing. The moment I was like, nobody wants you here, leave me alone or go away, it just stopped coming. So it's really interesting. And I wish somebody had taught me this trick as a kid. So I'm doing my best to teach my kids that. Just speak directly to that flash of image that comes in front of your eyes the moment you're about to fall asleep. So of course, as a kid, I didn't want to experience that. So I resisted going to sleep. And I'm not alone. We have family friends who have a daughter who's on the autism spectrum, and she's very kind of like slow and low key, let's say. So she's very much in her own world. She doesn't cause too much drama, but she definitely has very strong autistic or Asperger's symptoms or tendencies, let's say. And this little girl, bless her, when she was a baby, she used to scream for up to an hour before going to sleep. Like, she absolutely hated going to sleep. So this type of behavior, this extreme sleep resistance that you may have had as a kid, if you don't remember, ask your parents or ask your caretakers. If you had that, that could be a sign that you have ADHD or are on the autism spectrum. Revenge bedtime procrastination happens as adults because that's the only time, like when the whole house or everybody else is asleep, and it's the only time of the day when nobody is expecting anything from you. So a lot of people posted this comment actually on the video I made about PDA, pathological demand avoidance, which is a term I absolutely don't like. I prefer pervasive desire for autonomy. Anyway, so the video I made about PDA, a lot of people commented there, and you can go read those comments later. And they said that I also have this not wanting to go to sleep because it's the only time when there are no demands on me. Nobody needs something from me. I'm not expected to give somebody my time or my attention or deliver some kind of work or be productive. Being productive is also a huge burden. It's an expectation that we feel. And as PDA people, we are allergic to expectations. We're allergic to feeling like there's a demand on us. That is the time of day when you finally get to do whatever you want, not what others are expecting of you. And my friend, this is an ADHD thing. Well, actually, when you mix ADHD with autism, meaning like that's just your genetic makeup, the chances of you being PDA, having pervasive desire for autonomy is much, much higher. This is statistically the case. And I know that firsthand because when we were getting the diagnosis for my son, who we just found out is not only ADHD and autistic, he has PDA autism. And the neuropsychologist told us when there's ADHD and autism in the mix, the chances of being PDA positive for PDA is a lot higher. So if you have this super strong bedtime procrastination, then the chances of you actually having ADHD is quite high. And this is in no way a bad thing. In my opinion, in my life experience, having ADHD has been a superpower. It gives me hyper focus. It gives me an interest-based brain. I'm so curious. I'm so hungry to learn and also to give and to serve causes and people that I really, really, truly believe in. ADHD and autism gives you an extreme high standard of justice. So a lot of us will fight for what is right. So ADHD, I'm just saying, like, some of these sleep things might mean that you have ADHD, but that can be a super strength if we just look at it that way. Sign number 2, you fall asleep uncontrollably while experiencing something boring, like being in a boring class, listening to a boring lecture, being in a boring meeting, or even sometimes playing with your kids, like playing childish games or reading a boring storybook for your kids. You uncontrollably fall asleep. I'll just tell you my story so you see the connection here. Back in high school, I always, every single day fell asleep in my history class. It was like a scheduled nap built into my timetable. And it's not that I didn't like the teacher. He was actually really great. He was kind and we had a good connection. But it was just a topic, like the topic of history and the specific subjects that the specific events that we were learning about were absolutely against what I was interested in, and in some cases against what my philosophical beliefs were. So I went to high school in Canada, and the things we were learning about was the colonization of Canada, the injustice and the mistreatment of the Indigenous people, the wars, the this and that. And And I don't like that stuff. So my brain was like, nope, not interested, and literally powering off, shutting down. And I was always at the desk, with my cheek on my hand having a nap. And it is that teacher who was really nice because he kind of let me get away with that. Somehow, because I was really good at studying, my grades were always okay. And I guess maybe that's why I kind of was let off the hook. But I always fell asleep in that one particular class. In contrast, I took another history lesson, another history course in university. But this one was called the History of World Peace Movements. So it was also a history class. We were also learning about past things and conflicts and so on. But we were learning about specific people, individuals, for example, like Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, who did the brave thing, who went against the grain, who tried to resolve that conflict in a peaceful way, who basically did what everybody was really not expecting them to do. So in that way, they acted quite PDA, they acted quite rebellious, and they did the exact opposite of what people were expecting or even trying to get them to do. And I loved that course. I never once fell asleep in that course. I did really well in that course. And you can see that here, history, both are history. It's just the two angles that we looked into that same subject matter from is what made me either fall asleep or light up. And this is a sign that if you have a similar experience, this is a sign that you also have an interest-based brain. That means if it's something you're interested in, your brain lights up. You could go into hyperfocus. You could dive into that subject. You could just power through. You could spend hours in that without feeling tired, without needing a break. But if it's something that absolutely doesn't interest you, there's nothing anybody can do to force you to be good at that subject or to pay attention or even to stay awake. This is a clear-cut sign of an ADHD brain and also autism. Like there's a correlation between ADHD and being on the autism spectrum. We have interest-based brains and nervous system. If it's something we're interested in, we'll give it our all. But if it's something that doesn't interest us and also kind of philosophically we're against that thing, then our brain shuts down, switches off, we become inattentive. ADHD stands for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. We literally switch off our attention. Our attention goes out the window. And then a lot of people, in order to divert ourselves from that really boring thing, get hyperactive just to keep ourselves awake. This is where ADHD comes from, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And it's not because there's something wrong with you. You simply have an interest-based brain. By the way, if you're resonating with this video, please give it a like because it helps somebody else out there who also has these sleep problems realize that, oh wait, I'm not broken. I'm not lazy. It's not that I have no willpower. I simply have a differently wired brain, and that's okay. I'm okay, and I'm not alone. There are thousands, there's millions of others just like me, and we're here for a reason. We're here for a purpose, and God doesn't make mistakes. So if you like this video, please actually give it a like. It helps it reach other people. Sign number 3, you go to bed or you wake up super late, no matter how hard you try to go to bed early or become, an early riser or a morning person. This is because people who have ADHD tend to have a different circadian rhythm. The circadian rhythm is basically the 24-hour cycle that humans naturally go through that help regulate our digestion, our sleep, our routines, and our rhythms. And people who have ADHD are statistically shown to have slightly different circadian rhythms. So the fact that you're just a night owl or you're not a morning person is not because you have no willpower or you're lazy. It's because you have a different circadian rhythm, which might be because you're actually ADHD. So what can we actually do about it? Like, we have sleep problems, we struggle with sleep. The very first number one thing that actually helps and has saved my life is nap. And I am an anti-napper. Like, I absolutely hate naps, especially from childhood. When I was a kid, if I had a nap during the day, even as a kid, I remember waking up with a headache or feeling groggy and just being in a terrible mood, and I absolutely hated napping. And of course, that would mess up my going to bed sleep time. But now, as a mom of 2 small kids, both of them are under 6 years old, I need it. Having 2 neurodivergent kids and a neurodivergent husband. I didn't tell you guys my husband is ADHD, and this is a lot of work, right? Like, it's a lot of work. My kids have irregular sleeping times, circadian rhythms. My husband is an absolute night owl, me too. And I'm just not managing, I'm just not managing with my earlier 20s or early 30s behavior of going to bed at 2 a.m., waking up at 8 a.m. and just carrying on with life. It doesn't work. So I absolutely need naps in the middle of the day. And the moment that I accepted that, the moment that I actually let myself have a 15-20 minute power nap in the middle of the day is when I stopped falling asleep while I was trying to play with my kids, or while I was trying to read them a book and then they're like, Mom, wake up, oh, you're not fun, you don't love us, or whatever, whatever their little brains think of when mommy is just not interested or not able to play with the same level of energy as they want or need, or that they themselves have. The moment I allowed myself to have that little nap, things changed. After that 20-minute power nap or 15 minutes, while they would watch TV or play something together that was engaging to them, that that they're not like destroying the house while I'm napping, that changed everything. And the napping became so much easier after I started using sleeping masks. These ones in particular, this Manta Mask. And it's called Manta because it looks like a manta ray, like that swim in the ocean. But this Manta Mask, what I do is I just put it on my face and I literally do this, and it's completely black out. So I just put this on and I lie down on the sofa and I set my timer on my phone and I sleep for 20 minutes maximum. And it takes me, because of the blackout feature in this, it takes me maybe less than a minute to fall asleep. But that also tells you just exactly how tired I am and how badly I need that nap in that moment. But this has saved me. Naps plus this really has been so useful and powerful and helpful for me to get my sleep. And I'll tell you guys in a little bit the consequences of being so tired, the consequences of having a sleep deficit, specifically if you're neurodivergent. I'll tell you that in a minute. So hang on. Tried out 2 Manta masks. This one is another one. This one kind of doesn't really fit my face so well. And I'll show you guys what it looks like. Anyway, so this is the other one. I think this one fits my husband better, and he has used it and he likes it, not as much as I do. I'm obsessed with this sleeping mask, and I've talked to the company that makes these, and for my viewers, you can get a 10% discount if you're interested in getting a pair for yourself. So go on mantasleep.com and during checkout, put in the code RETU and you're going to get 10% off your Manta Mask and save yourself from sleep deprivation. By the way, this is not sponsored or anything. I did receive this mask for free, but I don't get paid to plug this. It's just an honest review. But if you do use the link, I may get a small commission. Another thing you can do to actually help yourself with your sleep problems, sleep issues, specifically if you're a neurodivergent parent, is change your kids' sleep rhythm and routine. So for us, what we did is we just moved everything up. The kids brush their teeth at 7 o'clock. Like, we start our bedtime routine at 7 no matter what. Of course, during weekends and holidays, it's a bit more flexible. But then by 8, they're usually asleep, and then they're kind of naturally waking up the same time that mom and dad are waking up, around 7 o'clock. And that has made a huge difference in their mood, in my mood, in the quality time that my husband and I can have after the kids are asleep. So this has been super helpful, and I really recommend that. I am so PDA and so ADHD. I absolutely resisted this, having a structure for my kids' sleep. But the moment that I did put that in place, things really got better for our family. Another thing you can do that has always helped me fall back asleep if I wake up in the middle of the night or if I can't go to sleep is meditation. And of course, like everybody's going to say that to you, but one very specific meditation that I do that has helped me immensely is Atma Kriya Yoga. So just Google that, Atma Kriya Yoga. And this is super, super powerful. It works on energetic, on a chakra level, and it really helps you to change that brain wave that I was telling you guys about. Change the brain waves in your brain, help you go into a delta wave, which is like slow rolling brain waves, and you can feel it. The more experienced you are, you can actually feel it, your brain kind of changing in its pace, and that really helps. So meditation helps. Another thing you absolutely must start doing for better sleep, specifically if you're a highly sensitive person, specifically if you're on the spectrum, is turn off the Wi-Fi, the 3G, 4G, 5G, whatever G you have, and the Bluetooth on your phone. So airplane mode and Bluetooth, by the way, on iPhones, it doesn't turn off by itself. So you have to go into settings to turn it off, but turn that off. And also, if possible, turn off the Wi-Fi in your house because you don't need it when you're sleeping, and it's constantly pinging out radiation and information actually into the ether. And when you're a highly sensitive person, you're often susceptible. You often pick up these things that other people can't, and that unknowingly is affecting the quality of your sleep. And finally, you can unplug all the electrical things in your bedroom, near your bed. So unplug the phone charger, never charge your phone next to your head, unplug the light if possible, unplug, all your radio, all the devices in your bedroom. Your bedroom should be like an electric magnetic field free zone if possible. Try it for a couple of nights and you'll see for yourself if that makes a difference for you or not. And finally, if all else fails, I recommend trying herbal supplements of melatonin. Melatonin is like synthetic or plant-based hormone, I believe, and it's something that naturally occurs in the body. You just take a pill that gives you a boost of that, and that really, really helps you to go to sleep. I've tried it before in my late 20s, early 30s, and I swear by it. And right now, I'm not using it because, I don't know, the naps are working, so I don't need to use the melatonin right now, but if I'm having sleep issues where I can't fall asleep, I will go back to using melatonin. But guys, it's true, the struggle is real. When you have sleep problems, the consequences, the negative effects of that are so big. And I've developed my own strategies to cope with that, to help myself get better sleep, help my kids who are on the spectrum sleep better. And I'd also love to help you figure out what strategies for you work. So I work with ADHD and autistic people, adults, and I tend to attract people who are PDA as well because like attracts like, and we absolutely hate being told what to do, right? So like I'm not gonna tell you, oh, try my strategy, it's gonna work for you, because your brain is going to reject that. If you're PDA like me, you're going to be like, how do you know what's good for me and what's good for my life, right? So I would help you to come up with your own strategy to figure out for yourself and hold you accountable to sticking to that so that you actually can address your sleeping issues. Because when you don't, the consequences are big. I do this work one-on-one, and to find out more, go on my website, neurodivergentmom.net. Click on the button and we'll talk about what strategies will help you. You deserve good sleep, and I'd love to help you with that. But really, guys, when you do have sleep problems, there are so many side effects on your entire life. And the research proves that kids and adults who have sleep problems act more ADHD. So, and it also goes for autism. So like kids who have sleep problems in school the next day, they really act out, they can't self-regulate, they're a bit more aggressive, they're more clumsy, and so on. And it's the same for adults. Me, myself, I have noticed, my husband has noticed, and he points it out, when I am sleep deprived, I act more autistic. So these are my words, not his. is when I'm sleep deprived, I act more autistic, meaning I have more meltdowns, I can't self-regulate, I'm really touchy, or I literally act more autistic. So there is definitely a huge negative consequence of having poor sleep. Sleep problems also lead to parental burnout. You can Google that to learn more about what that is and if you're actually experiencing that or not. You're more absent-minded, and in extreme cases, it leads to narcolepsy. This actually runs in my family, and I plan on doing a whole other video about sleep problems, narcolepsy, and the connection to that with ADHD and autism in the future. So please subscribe, and then you'll find out when that video comes out. And in this video, I talk about what it's like to have a kid on the spectrum who resists sleep. Struggle is real, guys. It's real.